Meeting of the City of Friendswood Planning and Zoning Commission to be held Thursday, September 17th, 2015, beginning at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall located at 910 South Friendswood Drive, Friendswood, Texas. Call to order. I'd like to begin with communications from the public, and I believe Brett has something for us. Brett, want to step to the microphone and give your full name?
Sure. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Brett Banfield, and I currently serve on CDC and also a local developer here in town. But tonight I come before you as a representative of a new organization we have in our community that just started up in May. An organization that's focused on downtown Friendswood. Back in May of this year, a group of citizens of 8 members formed a little steering committee to evaluate and gauge the interest in revitalizing the downtown area. And to our pleasant surprise, the interest has been extremely strong, and we have grown considerably since May. First meeting was 8 members, then it was 14 members, and then it was up to 20 members. Then we had to move to the chamber because we were running out of space. We're currently up to about 70 members who are involved in this downtown association. Last month, we took the next step and formally incorporated. We're a legal entity now, Friends of Downtown Friendswood Incorporated, doing business at Friends of Downtown Friendswood Association. A lot of words there. We are served by a 9-member advisory board from many people from the community, and then we are also governed by a 15-member board of directors. We have put up a Facebook page. We have 1,700 followers, so this has been the interest has been very, very strong. Our goal for this organization or association this first year is to get up to 2,500 members. And based on the support we've gotten just within 90 days, going from an 8-member steering committee to a full-fledged corporation with 1,700 followers, I think we're going to get there pretty quickly. There's a very strong desire within Friendswood, broad-based desire. We've hit all parts of the community that want downtown Friendswood revitalized. We've become a very serious group that's very serious about downtown. And so one of our goals for our organization is to be a working partner with city staff, city council, planning and zoning. We want to work with Keep Friendswood Beautiful, Economic Development Committee, the Library Board. We want to include everyone. Another one of our goals is to be a very open, transparent, forward-thinking organization. All our meetings are open. We have a general meeting the 3rd Tuesday every month at the chamber. All is welcome. We have our board of directors meetings the 1st Tuesday of the month at the chamber during the lunch hour. Everyone's welcome to come to those meetings. We have a standing invitation to anyone in the community that want to come learn about what our goals are for downtown Friendswood. Downtown Friendswood is becoming a very significant economic priority for our city for many reasons. We are heavily, our property tax base is almost 90% residential, and we're only 10% commercial. That's too low. And so downtown area is a huge untapped potential. As I mentioned to council before, we have roughly almost 17 acres of vacant land that is earning just $21,000 a year for the city. For a city of almost 40,000 people to have that much vacant land in your downtown area earning so little for your community, something needs to change on that. It should be earning about 10 times that amount, around $250,000 a year for the city. So that's one of our goals, is to help boost downtown area. And it's also a matter of community pride. Friendswood deserves a better downtown. It does not represent our community very well. We all know why Friendswood's great. I could list a long list of reasons. The one thing that's missing is downtown. So that's where our group is focused on. We want to be a very positive, forward-thinking group. We're not going to come to you with problems. We're going to come to you with solutions. And so we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 3, our consent agenda, approval of the minutes for the meeting held September 3rd, 2015. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion to approve and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Item number 4, consideration and possible action regarding the final plat of Arbor Gate at West Ranch, Section 3, a private street subdivision. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve. And a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 5, consideration and possible action regarding the site plan at 1625 Friendswood Lakes Boulevard for Bushy Band International Martial Arts and Fitness. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve. And a second. Aubrey, would you like to kind of tell us where this came from?
Yes, sir. And can I clarify, the motion is with staff comments?
Yes, he did say motion to approve with staff comments, sorry.
That's okay. I just want to be clear. This is a site plan for Bushy Bond International Martial Arts and Fitness. And we've seen this before. We approved their site plan, and we approved a one-time extension, but they were working on some financing things on their end. And so we couldn't do another extension, so we just had to let it expire. But they're getting ready to move forward again. So this is nothing's changed. We're just bringing you back the exact plans that were approved before, just so we can get the approval back on the books. And then their construction plans, as far as civil, are still good. And then their building permits, they're going to bring all those back into the office, and we're going to reissue all their permits so that their permits will all be valid as well. So, Master Zulfi's here if you have any questions for him. And the only staff comments, there was a minor comment about a landscaping note, and then we just wanted to be sure that it's clear that they need earth tone colors for their building. The colored elevations shows the building to be white, and we've on other buildings have just said that, you know, stark white is not an earth tone color. It just needs to be some tone of like off-white. So
And he's going to make that
yeah,
through the staff.
I've talked with him before the meeting, and he's good with that. So
Good. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. And items 6 and 7, basically, this was a long discussion we had last time in regards to sidewalks. It actually was put before us primarily through Mr. Annan's efforts. And him not being here tonight, and also the reception this week of a additional letter from the school district regards to some of their concerns that primarily went to council but was also copied to us. We thought that might be value in letting that be absorbed by the city council first. The reason for that being is just historically we found that planning and zoning's best function is when basically council has a concern, and or if we have a concern, we run it up to council, see if they have any appetite for it and or direction for us as we begin to pursue that, rather than putting a lot of staff time and planning and zoning commissioner time into working on an issue that may or may not be of interest at the council level. So that said, I would like to just bypass these 2 items, 6 and 7 this week, but with one additional thing, and that is some footwork research that was done by Commissioner Lovell this week that would also be some additional thoughts for us to chew on in advance of us actually getting to this. Craig, would you like to share what you did?
Sure.
Why you did it?
I spent 3 days going out and doing a survey, a pedestrian survey. The first day, I started at Falling Leaf and Greenbrier. Because I didn't realize how much vehicular traffic there would be there, I got there about 5 minutes late, so I think this first day was kind of inconclusive, but the results were I didn't see anyone walking anywhere. up Falling Leaf or right there on Greenbrier. Wednesday, I went back up again. This time I went to the corner of Greenbrier and Castlewood. And there were a total of 9 walkers, and 7 walked up Castlewood and Greenbrier. And I'm talking about going east on Castlewood and south on Greenbrier, past where the sidewalk ends. And 2 were picked up there on wilderness trails. Apparently, some of the parents now, to get out of going into the school, they come over, turn around there in wilderness trails, park in that where the pool used to be, and the kids come through the athletic field and get picked up there. So I didn't count those as walkers. So you really have a total of 7 walkers on the first day. Today we had 10 walkers and 2 cyclists. And by the way, we had 2 cyclists the day before, the same 2 guys, and both cyclists are cycling up south on Greenbrier. They stay on the road. Of the 10 walkers, 5 walked east on Castlewood and 5 walked south on Greenbrier, and that was it. The survey, I started the survey at 3 o'clock. I ended at 4:02. School gets out at 3:45, and didn't get the first walker till 3:46. The last one was 4:02. That was kind of about the way it was for both days. It's just, I think it's interesting data to start looking at if we're going to start, prioritizing things and asking to put things in the capital plan or changing ordinances or whatever. I think first we ought to go out and get a little bit of data first and see where the need is. I haven't gone over to Westwood or any of the other schools and done the same thing, but I imagine I'll find a different scenario there. I see Klein every single day, and because it's in my backyard, but and it has significant traffic, but they have a sidewalk there too where most of the pedestrians are on, and it's not an issue. But anyhow, I guess the point of me doing this is I saw the letter from Trish, and I said, okay, we've had an increase in the amount of students and all that, and let's see what the pedestrian traffic's like. And one child being exposed is horrible, but most of these kids are walking on the grass. If they're going down Greenbrier, they're walking with the traffic, but they're on the other side of the ditch, walking up against the fence row. And if they're going down Castlewood, they're walking opposing the traffic. And the traffic seems to be fairly reasonable there. It's not crazy traffic, speeders or anything like that. So anyhow, that's what I found out. I think it's worth looking into more if we're going to consider going further down the road on this.
Thank you very much, Craig. Really appreciate that. That's above and beyond. If everybody's comfortable with the suggestion that we just kind of bypass this until council's had a chance to look at it, then that's what we'll do. We don't actually need a motion per city attorney, just a nod of the head that you're comfortable with us making that bypass for tonight.
Sure.
Okay. All right, good. So then moving on to item 8, consideration and possible action regarding to downtown district amenities. Do I have a motion?
Motion to discuss, right? Yeah. Motion to discuss? What kind of motion is this, Audrey?
We can make a motion to approve and second, and then move into discussion, and then your actual vote can be whatever it needs to be. But that just gets it on the table.
I think this one's more of we need a discussion in order to have a motion. I think this was just kind of being presented as a new item.
Okay.
So I think there needs to be some discussion first, because there's not really a motion at this point.
Okay. The backstory on this is that the group that was before us tonight in regards to improvements in the downtown has as kind of ground zero for their focus would be a continuation of the pavers, benches and light standards that you see, for instance, down in front of Huntington Woods, and that are about to also be installed by the city of Friendswood here in front of City Council, as well as Stevenson Park, and then a few of the other businesses. There is a great interest in that group. They have actually approached us and said, what we are concerned is that we not get out there putting these things in, and we have one colored paver here for 300 feet, and then a different colored paver, one style bench, and then a different style bench, one type of light or brightness, and a different type of light. And so what they've really asked us to do is to tighten our language. If you look in our design criteria manual, you'll find that what we have done is kind of given a list of here's what we like, but choose what you like, more or less, so a lot of play there. The thought has been that perhaps we would tighten that language to, and this would be something that we would have staff work on, to say, and you absolutely cannot say that a guy buying a paver today will be able to buy that exact same paver 5 years from now, because they dig these clays out of different stratas in the soil, and if you've ever tried to match a series of bricks over a long period of time, I personally have done that, it's very difficult. But that we could still greatly improve our language. For instance, in some places we have a bench with a single pedestal, and in other places we have a bench with two pedestal legs going down, or two legs going down on both ends, or four legs. And so the thought was from the downtown district was if we could perhaps tighten our language to say that this is the standard we're looking for, given, or as close a match, given that it's available, or as close a match as is possible. So that's the backstory of that. That said, now I'd be interested in entertaining a motion so that we could perhaps get to discussion, and then we'll take questions at that point. Would that work?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve
Second.
and a second, and now discussion.
Yeah, so is Exhibit A, what we've been presented with, the current design criteria, is that in place today?
Yes.
And is the change, we don't know at this point what the change would be. Is that what so has there been a change proposed?
No.
No, okay.
The thought is that we have a template that's been well received downtown, and that perhaps we would make that our standard. Yeah, jump in, Nick.
So as you alluded to earlier, the city is in the process right now of installing the downtown district amenities, those benches, lights, and sidewalks in front of City Hall and in front of Stevenson. It'll end down there at Shadwell. We're in a process where right now we're getting the surveying kicked off, we'll get the engineering kicked off, make sure it's all ADA compliant, et cetera, et cetera. And at some point, we're going to go ahead and bid out this project. When that happens, we'll have a lot of discussion at the staff level as to what these benches and what these lights and what the color of the pavers are going to be. I can tell you that the discussions we've had right now at the staff level is we are going to look at what's downtown right now that exists to see if we can take any cues from what's out there right now. The apartment complex is a good example. Mr. Banfield's building is another example of something that we'd look at and see if we could perhaps take our cues from those benches and lights and paver colors. So I think that as these develop in front of City Hall and Stevenson, I think that might be a good starting point. Because at some point, if we do want to land on a type of bench, a type of light, a type of color paver, we want to make sure that at the city level, that the city of Friendswood does that. And that's kind of where we are right now. It's going to be a couple of months before we actually see construction begin in front of City Hall and in front of Stevenson Park. There's some work we have to do, and of course with the process we have to go through of actually bidding it and putting it in front of council, it's going to take a little while. But I just wanted to submit that to the commission that, you know, if we do look at changes to the design criteria manual, we want to make sure the city of Friendswood is the first one to take advantage of setting that standard. So I want to throw that out there.
And you can kind of just visualize, like you know, if you walk down the street in Aspen at 11 o'clock at night, you can see 30 light standards, exact same crook up and down and over, exact same wattage. Imagine 30 lights that had different wattages, or some were LED and some were incandescent. I mean, you could see where you could take a great effort that we were making and make it look, you know, you just not get that final pop that you get when it's all matching, so. Mhm.
Mine's coming. Oh, there it is. Okay. I would be in favor, I don't know that we're talking about a change. I would be in favor of trying to whittle down the choices such that we can have some continuity going up and down Friendswood Drive. I think part of what we're trying to accomplish is a cohesive look up and down Friendswood Drive. And if we do this, and it's really not physically possible probably to do all of it at one time, it's very expensive. But if we're doing this a little at a time over 2 to 5 years, it's, if we can make this standard where there's not so many options, then I think we'll have that continuous look that we're looking for, the continuity. Otherwise, it's going to look like patchwork quilt, and that's what we're trying to get away from. So I'm totally in favor of, and I realize we're going to be narrowing the choices versus expanding them, but in this scenario, I think that's the right thing to do. So I would vote for narrowing the options here, obviously making sure that the options we settle in on are still available. I don't want us to find something, go, yeah, that's the one, and it's discontinued. That would not be a good thing. But I would like for us to settle in on a bench, a light, a brick paver, and then say, this is what we're going to be using. And don't be afraid to set that standard, and then hold everyone accountable to that.
And the closest possible match if it's not. Yep.
Absolutely.
Arthur?
Both of you just covered exactly what I would have said. Our intention would be to have a cohesive and very similar pattern as we go down 518, and we do our best to make that happen.
Thank you. Craig?
The only concern that I would have is, once you narrow it down to a certain style, okay, you kind of restrict, there may only be one vendor to go to get that bench or light pole. And some consideration ought to be given to whether or not the style you choose has more than one vendor that people can go to. So you don't get yourself in a position where you're not competitive when you're trying to buy one of these.
And that might, and I'm hopeful that Arnold perhaps will work on some language for us on this, but that might add in, instead of the closest possible match, the closest possible reasonable match, which would take in the range of the economic consideration as well. So, yeah.
I guess my question, do y'all want staff to come up with some options? When we tightened up this language last time, we received input from Keep Friendswood Beautiful. And so I don't know if we want to go back to them and get some input from them as well. And maybe even the Friends of Downtown Committee, maybe get some input.
I think that'd be great, since they were the ones that were behind it last time. But to come back with some specific language that you think is durable and then that is, you know, aesthetically acceptable to them.
Okay.
What does everybody think?
I
Seeing a
agree
lot of
with that.
nods.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, well, yes.
Do you have one more amenity I'd like to throw in the hopper? And I may get egged for this, but right now, Dave's gonna move away. Right now, there are no gas stations in our downtown district. And I would like for us to consider, maybe at a future time, but I would like for us to consider maybe saying, hey, that area would not be, that would not be allowed, that would not be a use that would be allowed on our downtown district, since there's nobody with a gas station in that area at this point in time.
That, I think is a little wide of the mark for us right now in this agenda, but it's heard in our commissioner comments later. If you want
Okay.
to make that suggestion, then we'll
All right.
hear that a little more fully. Okay. That said, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, discussion regarding the 2015 Planning and Zoning Liaison Schedule of Appointments. On your computer, when you came in, was a color-coded listing of the agenda, of the discussion we had as we were putting together the agenda the other day as to what we thought were natural fits or good fits for each of the various groups that we send a liaison to. We won't take action on this tonight, but I'd like you to just kind of peruse that. In fact, I don't think that this is actually something that we have to vote on. If you just have great heartburn about where we've placed you, give me a call and we'll discuss. But these are really important relationships. This was put in place, how far back, Nick? Maybe 7 years, 8 years? Yeah. And it has yielded a lot of fruit for the city as you get, cross-pollination between groups. And so it's very, very important. And we look forward to continuing that tradition. And if you have a problem, give a holler. If not, we'll probably put this in place then our next go-round. All right, item 10, consideration and possible action regarding future Planning and Zoning Commission meeting dates. Aubrey?
Yes, sir. Our next regular scheduled meeting is for Thursday, October 1st. However, we do have a joint public hearing item with council for October 5th. So if we want to entertain the motion of moving our October 1st meeting to October 5th, that's a possibility. And then the second meeting, our regular meeting in October would be Thursday, October 15th.
Tell me this, Aubrey, on the first, my only hesitation with these joint hearings with City Council is that we not have something really substantive before us and we get rushed trying to gel those two meetings. Do you have any sense of that through the DRCs that are working your way or plats that are on your desk?
Well, the joint public hearing item is an SUP amendment. It's an existing SUP that an owner is requesting to add additional uses to.
Okay.
So I don't suspect it being anything,
Do we know what that is, or is that something we can know? Nick?
Sure. The SUP amendment that's coming up on the 5th,
Yeah.
that's simply, it's what is it, over on 528, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, 402 East Edgewood Drive. They're requesting to add 3 basically retail uses for clothing, accessory stores, furniture stores, and health and personal care stores.
And this is the rear building behind, or is this the front one with the porch?
The whole property.
The whole property. And what were those uses again?
Clothing and clothing accessories, furniture and home furnishings, and health and personal care stores.
And the parking grids that support those uses, are they outside of the current range of what's allowed there?
We can't discuss any detail right now. I'll give you all the backup material. We just have the joint public hearing scheduled right now. You'll get everything in your backup material.
So if I can, for the benefit of the commission, especially the new commissioners, typically, when we have an item that requires a joint public hearing with the city council, such as a rezoning or maybe a change to the zoning ordinance, what we've done historically is basically change the meeting that would have been on that Thursday with P&Z to the Monday along with that council meeting, because you're going to have to meet that night anyway. So typically what they do is you'd have the joint public hearing, and then P&Z would go upstairs and not only get ready for their recommendation down to council again, but you'd also go ahead and take care of any other business that you would have taken care of that Thursday. That's typically the reason why in the past we've moved those Thursday meetings to Monday, to just go ahead and take care of it on Monday instead of having 2 meetings in 1 week. That's the reason typically behind. when we set these dates.
Well, on this one specifically, our regular meeting is before council, and so then we'd have joint public hearing, and then we wouldn't be able to make a recommendation till October 15th. Then it still has to go through 2 readings with council. So it's a little bit of an expedited procedure for applicants.
And that's the bad part. The good part is council has come back to us after our little rushed meeting last time and said, anytime you guys want to take more time, do not rush yourself. If you don't get it down to us, we're simply going to move on, which they almost did that night. So I guess I'm comfortable with it under that circumstance.
Yeah, there's no obligation for the commission to make a decision on a recommendation that night. You can certainly wait until your next meeting and wait until the next council meeting if you need to.
Okay. Good.
I'd make a motion that we have a joint public hearing Monday, October the 5th.
Okay, I've got a motion for a joint public hearing on Monday, October 5th, and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Okay, communications from commissioners. Let's start with our liaison.
He's next on the agenda. He's under reports.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Okay. Craig, would you like to communicate to us?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Okay. And Sally?
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Rhonda?
I have nothing, thank you.
Arthur? Nothing. Okay, I'm good too. All right, now, council liaison, yes. Just trying to make you
You're good.
do some ups and downs.
Stretch those hamstrings.
Yeah, this is the guy with the sore leg. 3 things. It's amazing that you did what you did, because I was thinking to myself of going and doing the exact same thing on watching that traffic at the high school. And if you would somehow document that so that it gets to council, it can either be in your meetings or if you want to do it as a separate memo or something. And then have Audrey forward it to council, that would be helpful. The second thing is, just for those of you that didn't participate the other night or are unaware, we're in our budgeting cycle, and it does affect you all in terms of the things that, you know, council could or couldn't be interested in. The way it works is that the city has an opportunity to hold your tax rate flat and collect whatever money is going to get collected, or we can do what's called the effective tax rate, which means we lower, if the property values go up by a certain percentage, we lower your taxes by that same percentage, so most people see the same amount of money, even though their property values went up. That's called the effective tax rate. If we followed the effective tax rate this time, we would have dropped your taxes by about 5 cents, almost 10%, because the property values have gone up that much. The discussion was to find a middle ground, and so what passed the other night, and let me explain about passed, it's not passed yet, but was to go to the effective tax rate plus 2 cents. So it's still a lowering of your tax rate by 3 cents. Only in the government is a lowering of your taxes by 3 cents actually a tax increase, because we didn't do the effective rate, so we have to have 2 more meetings to allow public hearing and various other things for that, which are all going to happen in the next week or 2, and then we'll pass the final budget at that October 5th meeting. But if it holds true to form, the purpose of doing that was we have a concern that all of our bond projects and a number of other projects are coming in a little more expensive than what the bond had thought, and we wanted to be able to look at certain projects to fund, and so we had people who came to the meeting and advised us to go in the middle somewhere, and that's probably where we're going to end up. But it didn't pass unanimously, and it's still got to go through 2 more votes. So I just want to let you guys know where that's at, because when you start talking about sidewalks and other things like that, you know, that's where that money comes from. And the final thing, just because I'm up here, every year we do a thing, the Historical Society does something called Histerween. It's going to be the Friday before Halloween this year. It's It's going to be a terrific event, and, you know, involve some of the downtown area. And if any of you would like to be a reenactor or a tour guide, we would love to have you. And if you have a business or something that would like to be a sponsor or know of somebody, you can talk to Ms. Branson. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Staff?
I just wanted to remind everybody that the APA conference is coming up October 8th and 9th, and I have David, Sally, Craig, Tony, and Rhonda signed up and registered to go. So just keep that on your calendar. And then the second reading of the specific use permit to allow the fitness and recreational centers at 810 South Friendswood Drive was approved at second reading by council on Monday night. So, and I think that was the only item we had on their agenda. So just wanted to let you know that.
Nick? Okay. Becky? All right. We stand adjourned.